is Wednesday, August 26th.
Welcome. I'm Bryn Caswell.
And I'm Collin Dorsey. Thanks for hanging out with us here on The Big Picture.
Gosh, it's already Wednesday and it's been a busy week.
Oh, it has been.
So busy. And we have to just start with the really sad news. We lost a real one.
I know.
Dolly Parton passed away at 80.
I'm sure you've heard by now.
Yeah. Well, let's get to our headlines for today. All right. So we are going to start with, we have some new information about the Siders family and the two other gentlemen who were indicted in connection to
right. We've got this
all
crazy
of it. There's a huge family
breakdown.
tree, and we're going to get into all the details of it. And we have some visuals as well that can help break all that down.
And we've got a long interview coming up later this hour. Jeff Hogan sat down with First Lady Fran DeWine talking about her partnership with Dolly Parton, but also her friendship with the country music legend.
Yeah, and we're talking about Imagination Library, which is just such an amazing philanthropic effort from Dolly Parton. Definitely one of the legacies that she's leaving behind. We're also talking about Bruce Foster. We're going into day 3 of the trial, and we know the prosecution, they rested their case yesterday, and we're now going to start hearing from the defense, but that's starting at 1 this afternoon. So we'll give you a recap of what happened in day 2. And then the Columbus Comedy Fest kicks off tomorrow. We have organizers coming on talking about how you can, get your laughs in this weekend.
Right. So it should be a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's go to Bruce Foster. We're going to hang out in Licking County for a bit. So, as Bryn mentioned, the prosecution for this trial rested yesterday. So this is going to end up being kind of a pretty fast murder trial in the realm of murder trials, because now the defense is going to start, and they're actually going to start late today. They're starting at 1 this afternoon.
And we know that we were told there were going to be 60 witnesses, and we've heard from some of them over the last 2 days. So day 1, we heard from a number of Foster's co-workers, and they were just, the prosecutors were kind of outlining the whole situation and what transpired that day. Day 2, we also heard from the Uber driver that Bruce Foster got into that car to escape KDC-1, that warehouse. And then we also heard from another employee at KDC-1 that was basically said that Foster was going to be fired. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of hinting at maybe this was retaliatory for that. Lacey Crisp, she's been in the courtroom, and she has the latest on day 2.
On February 4th, 2025, Bruce Foster took an Uber home from KDC-1, something he does every night, his attorneys argued in court. Prosecutors questioned the driver through an interpreter if Foster said anything in that ride.
Did you ask the rider, Mr. Foster, why the police were coming down the road?
Yes, I said, why this many police are here, police cars are here, and he didn't answer anything.
A KDC-1 employee also testified today that Foster was about to be terminated. Then the lead detective on the case from New Albany Police Department explained the evidence he gathered and how he was quickly able to identify Foster as the only shooting suspect.
Govin immediately on video says, Bruce shot me, right?
Yes.
Was that information relayed to you fairly quickly?
Maybe not to me, per se.
He laid out a timeline from surveillance video from inside the warehouse. Then the prosecutors played video from Foster's interview with police. Foster watched intently as the video played, showing no reaction.
Everybody was just running, man.
Why was everyone running?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be frank with you, man. Okay? There's video surveillance, just like the apartment complex.
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna look out for you to make sure, like, everything's going kosher.
All right.
There's video surveillance at the warehouse, okay?
Understood.
You know, we know everything, but we don't, right? Because we don't know.
Have to communicate.
We don't know your truth.
Right.
We don't know your story.
Right.
And so that's all we're here, is to make sure that you get your side out, because I believe that, you were attacked. People are against you. People are trying to put you down.
There are people against me.
So,
but that stuff stays in the streets, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is a bunch of sneaky stuff, man.
So there's a lot to figure out because in this bench trial. So this is not a jury trial. This is being presided over by Judge David Brandstuhl there in Licking County. He will ultimately decide the guilt of all of these charges against him.
Right, and we know he's Bruce Foster, he is charged with 4 counts of aggravated murder, 4 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of aggravated burglary, 6 counts of felonious assault, and 1 count of inducing panic. And he's been held in jail on a $20 million bond. So then there's also the other side of all this, which won't go to trial until next August, but there is a civil suit with the 2 families of the 2 people that were killed in the shooting, because we can't forget that this was deadly.
Right. And we spoke with the family of one of the victims shortly after this, really like I believe the next day.
The next day, yeah, they were outside of the hospital. Yes.
And the wife was pregnant at the time. She was due to deliver in about 2 weeks.
Right.
And this was, the last name was Shapagai, but he was the sole provider for this entire family.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. And so this other civil lawsuit, it explains that they're saying that, you know, because Foster was going to be possibly terminated, that this was all just, you know, wrongful damage and wrongful things that were done. So they're asking for at least $25,000 in monetary compensation damages. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, this is a long process. The court system takes a while, but this should that civil suit should play out next August.
Right. And I mean, this was, because it's a year and a half ago. And this was such a wild night because it was, as we talked earlier this week, this is not something that ever happened in New Albany. This was the first one in that community's history there. And the entire campus went on lockdown.
And then from New Albany, it went down to Columbus, Ohio, right across from that Kroger downtown. Yeah. I mean, that is where he was living, and that's where the U.S. Marshals were. That's where I was outside of. All their trucks pulled up. So many people live there, especially students. Right. I mean, it's like under a quarter mile away from the Ohio State University campus. Students are coming out and they're like, what is going on? I'm like, maybe don't go inside right now. The U.S. Marshals are here. They're trying to track him down. It was a tense situation for sure.
Because at KDC 1, they were sweeping all of these vehicles that were leaving. They had the dogs out there. They were like looking under vehicles. It was an intense night.
At the time, they didn't know where Bruce Foster went. But obviously, we just heard the testimony yesterday from the Uber driver that literally picked him up. And we know the Uber driver asked Bruce Foster, what's going on? Why are all these cop cars here? And little did that Uber driver know who he was transporting.
Right.
It's just crazy. So we're going to keep following that again. We're going to start hearing from the defense at 1. So it's starting a little later. Everything's been starting around 9 a.m. the last 2 days.
Right.
But
and of course, you can catch that here on the 10 TV app. And Lacey will have the latest at 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. Okay. Well, coming up, we have Tyvis Powell. You spoke with him earlier today.
Yes.
But we're going to be talking about how football pros are wanting to come back to college if they feel like it.
There's some new rules that
kind of crazy.
Yes, and we talked a little bit about this morning, that it's like when it first came out, we're like, okay, we could see where this is coming from, but then how easily it can be basically abused and already instantly is. So.
Of course. All right, we'll be back in 2 minutes.
The 10 TV Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the news you need. 10 TV Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Welcome back to The Big Picture, 910. Joining us now, Tyvis Powell, 97.1 The Fan.
Hello.
Hello. Happy Wednesday.
Hump day.
Yes.
Do you know what day it is? Because you love to say today is Friday when it's Wednesday.
I know. I'm always ahead of myself. And no, at least I am aware that it is Wednesday today.
It is Wednesday. Yeah. All right. So, Tyvis, we're talking about this new rule that possibly might get abused, that's already getting abused. It's bizarre.
First of all, I think that it's overblown. I really do. I think that this 5 for 5 thing, this going back from like guys that's going professional, that's going back to college, I think this is a one-off because it only really affects the kids that just left, that played only 4 years. So like the tight end from the Browns, he's like the poster boy for it now, Daquan Wright. Only reason and I thought Lane Kiffin had a good point. The only reason that this is happening for him is because if they would have told this kid in December, hey, you actually got another year, okay, maybe Daquan Wright doesn't enter the draft. The fact that he entered the draft and then went through the whole draft process and then they came out and said, oh, yeah, you do have another year. It's like, well, if I got another year and it's not going well for me, let me go back to make some more money because practice squad is not going to pay you what college is paying NIL kids for 1 year. So I totally understand why that's happening. I don't think that it needs to be a whole big deal about it of them coming out with all these rules. It's kind of implied because I feel like a kid that's a senior now, he already knows that he has another year. If he goes pro, that's it. You forfeit the year. You in my boat where you just forfeit the year.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to do all these rules. Now, however, I understand why the Big Ten and the SEC both came out and said, hey, this kid received professional coaching. He's been on a professional roster. You can't do this, and we're not supporting this. Like, that makes sense because they want to say that all of these kids in college is amateurs. If you go to the NFL and receive professional coaching and you are around professional players and
you're getting a leg up.
Yeah, like you're not an amateur.
Right.
So you are a pro.
Therefore, that makes sense. And I understand why there's an uproar. However, I think that we're making a big deal out of something that's only going to happen once.
We say that.
But I mean,
I don't think you can, like, after this, like, how can you do it?
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy that the NIL, like the fact that if he goes back, he can make $1 million.
He makes
and then
more,
playing pro, you're not making anywhere
Practice
as much.
squad
I mean,
makes
it's just
around 100,000, maybe 200,000. And in NIL money, they getting six figures.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's just like, if you leave and you go pro, you give up on those college.
Well, I mean, the thing is this also, at some point, you as a player, you should have a pride in yourself. Like, I'm in the NFL. I'm giving myself an opportunity. My focus should solely be on making an NFL roster. I shouldn't even be thinking about college anymore.
Right.
And the only question that I have about the situation is, okay, let's say Daquan Wright plays, right? He goes back to LSU, he plays. Is he also going to go to the draft again? Because that's
good question.
Because you just didn't get picked, so now you're gonna go back again, play again, and then get that's not fair.
Infinite resets.
It's not fair. Yeah. So that I have an issue with as well.
Okay, I want to ask you, after your first year in pro,
okay,
do you wish you could have gone back to
college?
college?
I made the 53-man roster.
Okay.
I was making the big bucks. So my situation was funny because I left early and I went undrafted. And everybody was like, oh, it was a mistake. You should have just played. You should have stayed another year. You go undrafted, of course, the first thing everybody says, you should have stayed and played another year. However, to me, I don't think I was getting any better. I think I was who I was, and I think I needed to go to the NFL, so that's why I left. But getting to the NFL, going undrafted, that's an uphill battle. Every day you're scratching and clawing to try to make this team. And my niche was special teams. Back when special teams was great. They done messed them up now. Anyways, so I performed really well, and then I performed well enough as safety that they were like, this guy can be our backup safety, so we're going to keep him on the 53-man roster. Ultimately, that's the goal, is to make the team. I didn't do practice squad my first year. I was actually on the roster. So it turned out to be the right decision for me to do that. But if it's a guy like him who's not going to make the roster, I understand why he's like, I should probably go back to college.
Yeah.
Okay. So what next?
Yeah.
What's next is that probably what's going to happen is that they're not going to play. They're not going to allow them to play. I know the SEC came out and did all this, and they're going to go to court, and they're going to fight it again.
And aren't we just kind of setting up a precedent?
No, but I truly think that the only way that this works is they're going to have to do it like they did the Brendan Sorsby case, where the Big 12 basically was like, listen, we ain't going to play you. If you do play them, you're not eligible for the Big 12 championship, CFP, none of that. So I think if that happens, LSU is going to be like, well, I'm not about to ruin the whole year that we got planned for this one or two kids.
Right.
You're not playing. And I think that's what needs to happen. The CFP need to be like, even if y'all not making the CFP and the Big 12 say you're not playing in the Big 12 championship, if that happens, the kids is not playing because the coach is not going to be like, we're going to risk all of this for 2 or 3 players. No.
Right. And Yeah, and it makes sense because
it's just not worth it.
You can argue that college football programs, as even as amateurs, as professional as they are, as good as the training staff is at the Ohio State University. God forgive me, the team up north.
Yes.
They still don't have the resources completely that that the Cowboys have, or even the Browns and the Bengals.
So it's I just don't think that they're gonna play. I just don't think that the tight end and all the other guys, I just don't think they're gonna play this year. I think this is a whole waste. Those guys would be doing workouts and eventually make somebody's practice squad and have to work their way up, just like every other guy that went undrafted had to. Yeah, like it's just that's the life of the NFL sometimes.
Okay, name that the title of your book.
Yeah, it'll be a lengthy one.
All right, Tyvis, thanks so much.
I appreciate it.
We'll see you on Friday. All right, coming up next, we are talking with some of the organizers of Columbus Comedy Fest because that kicks off. Talking all things funny. 2 minutes.
I'm Yolanda Harris. I'm a journalist at 10 TV News. I don't just report about our community, I belong to it. And that's why we care so deeply about getting it right. And when local journalism is done right, it moves. It moves you to act, to verify, to volunteer. And yes, it moves your heart through the kind of human storytelling that stays with you wherever you are. And at 10 TV, we're here for all of it. These are the stories that move Central Ohio.
Welcome back to Big Picture. It's almost 9:20 on your Wednesday morning. Joining us right now, we have Walker Evans, the co-founder of the Columbus Comedy Festival, and we also have Hannah Romes, the co-owner of #Comedy Company. Thank you so much for joining us today. This fest kicks off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? It's already back.
It flew up really fast.
For someone watching who's not familiar with the festival, what can they expect when everything kicks off tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's all over the city. We have 9 different venues activated, for 4 days, a whole weekend of comedy. There's stand-up, improv, sketch, variety shows, puppet show, clean comedy, a little bit of everything for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
And there are more than 100 performers taking part in all of this. 60 shows in 4 days. This is a jam-packed schedule. How much has it grown, really, in just 3 years?
I mean, the first year we saw great records, just as far as like being an independent venue. And since then, this is our 3rd year. It just keeps on growing and growing. And I think the support from the general public has just come out in waves, which has been great.
Yeah, and you guys have some major guests this year. Nina West, for one. Who are you guys really excited about?
That big kickoff show on Thursday with Nina is going to be really great at the Southern Theater. Tickets are almost sold out to that show, so that one's going to be a great kickoff.
Yeah, we have at we have 12 different shows this week, which is 3 or 4 times more than we normally do in a week. And we have a few different local or national like improvisers and sketch groups coming through too. So we're kind of showcasing our normal talent as well as bringing in some special guests from all over the country.
And do you think that Columbus's comedy scene is kind of, not to say a well-kept secret, but it's not one that you hear a lot about, but there's a ton that goes on?
Absolutely. There's easily like a few hundred performers in Columbus that are performing every single week. And it really is, I think, Columbus's best-kept secret. There's a lot of venues and producers that run shows. There's plenty of times to see comedy even outside of the festival. But if you're looking for a time to check it out and kind of see everything the city has to offer, this week is a really great opportunity to do that.
And when we're talking about local comedians here in Columbus, how important is it to give them this stage and this exposure of this festival this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like kind of the local music scene. You want to support live entertainers and have them pursue their passion and something that could even lead to like a full-time creative career. So for us, it's a great opportunity to have the public that might not normally seek this kind of entertainment out, just sort of drink from the fire hose, discover their new favorite, and then come back, to # or the Attic or Don't Tell, the Nest year round, and keep supporting them.
And I mean, you mentioned that it could be the opportunity for that leg up into a larger national career. I mean, Nina West is a great example of that. She's just about to wrap up a run in a kind of a parody comedy play of
she's
O'Mary.
so funny.
So it's that's going to be great. But where was I going with that? Anyway, some of these shows are already close to selling out. As you mentioned, that one at the Southern Theater. When it comes to getting tickets, where do people go? How do we find out about what's all coming to Columbus?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to our website, columbuscomedyfest.com. All of the tickets across all the venues are there, or you can go to the individual venue websites, like Hashtag's website, and find all of that. The tickets are all a la carte. You don't have to buy like an expensive $500 festival pass or anything. You can just pick and choose shows. There's a few that are free. Some are only $5, $10. Others are a little more expensive, but it's kind of a choose your own adventure sort of thing.
Yeah. Talk to us about the open mic on Friday.
Yeah.
What is that like for people who may not be familiar with open mics?
Yeah, absolutely. Hashtag Comedy Club in the Short North has an open mic every single Friday at 10:30, 10:40-ish, depending on when the previous show wraps up. I'm one of the co-hosts along with Zach Harley, who's a great comedian locally, but he tours as well. We normally have like 20 to 30 performers come through. It's really rapid fire 3-minute sets. And the festival's a really great one to always come see because there's a lot of people who are headlining shows out of town stopping by. So again, if you're looking for maybe some live comedy and you watch it online, this week is a great time to actually, experience that for yourself.
Right. How did you fall in love with comedy? How did you get into all this? And I'll ask you the question after that.
Sure. I've been doing improv and stand-up for about 10 years for improv, and I fell in love with it immediately. I'm a theater kid at heart, and it's been a great way to like make friends, meet people, and just kind of express, my creativity in a whole different way. I do this show called Meemaw's House where I dress up like my Appalachian grandma and my friend's a possum puppet, and it's kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse. There's like characters that come stop by. That show's going to be on Saturday at Hashtag Comedy Club. But there's always different fun things to do. I hand out Werther's Originals to the crowd. I could go on about it. I'll stop.
So fun.
It's very wholesome and sweet, and I love it. But it's not kid friendly, so don't bring your kids.
No kids.
As we know, Meemaw can be a little wild.
Yeah, Meemaws can get crazy.
Yeah.
So how did you fall in love with comedy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a performer, but I've loved attending shows and supporting shows. My wife, Ann, and I, who's the other co-founder of the festival, we started going out to shows when we were first dating 25 years ago, and just loved the scene. And it's really loved watching it grow because, 20 years ago, you could go to the Funny Bone or maybe like a big show at a theater downtown, and that was really about it, other than a handful of open mics. But now we have the Nest, Attic, Hashtag, there's a ton of pop-up events like all over the city. So if you like comedy, there's never been a better time just to go out on like a Wednesday night and catch a cool $10 show popping up in like an art gallery, stuff like that.
Because I'm trying to think, because I was like, yeah, I knew where Hashtag was, obviously the Funny Bone at East, and then there's the one that I can't think of the name that's there in Old Town East.
Yeah, so that's the Attic
Comedy Club.
Yeah, that opened a couple years ago.
I can see exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I knew it was a newer one.
They're one of our venue partners. They did just suffer some damage from some of the storms the other day. It kind of blew their roof open and water came into the venue. So they're closed for renovations in their original space, but the owners also own several other restaurants, including the Walrus downtown. And so all of their shows have moved over there, kind of a pop-up comedy venue. So they haven't had to cancel. The show must go on.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what is it like, organizing this feat? I mean, this is a big project. Did you start last year once, last year ended?
It's kind of turned into a bit of a year-round thing. I mean, you take a couple, hopefully you take a couple weeks down to like relax and recharge a little bit.
Yeah, I think every single year, we're obviously like doing shows every single weekend, but the festival is 12 shows at least every single, for the festival. So it is definitely like, just like turning everything up to level 10, which is always really fun. And we definitely see an uptick in people who have never been to our venue before coming to more shows, which has been really great for the venue and just the community as a whole. There's a lot of people that take our improv classes because they came to a show during the festival and then they're like, oh, I kind of like want to try this for myself. So that's been kind of cool to see it grow over the years.
Have you ever seen somebody try to run the full list? Like try to do them all?
We have some concurrent shows, so
okay, so not possible.
Yeah. But we do have people that come to a lot, over the 4 days. You see some of the familiar faces. Something new we're introducing this year is a comedy passport. So whichever venue you start at, you get to pick up a card. You take it around all the venues and get stamped. So the more venues you go to, the more stamps you collect. And then at the end of the week, you turn it in for prizes that include stickers, tickets to future shows, some pint glasses that we just had dropped off yesterday. So kind of gamifying and making it fun to go to a place you've never been before.
Last year we had a group of 4 women that came, and they came for 4 shows in the same day, which like I took a break even. I can't believe they stayed for the whole thing. I was like, are you guys okay? Do you need water or anything?
That's a lot.
They're laughing a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like laughter is just the cure to everything. It always makes everyone feel so good. And making people laugh is fun as well. So this is a great festival. Thank you guys for coming in. Is there anything else you want to share before this kicks off tomorrow?
I would just say get your tickets early. Some of the shows, you know, we mentioned the Nina West show, but some of the other shows are already sold out. And so if there's something you really want to see, just grab it now just to secure your seat.
Yeah.
Can we get a little taste of me, Ma?
It's like, hi, just like, hi everyone. See my friend Kyle. If you have any questions about life, love, how to do your taxes, you can write me a little message and I'll be answering that during the show. Thank you. I also have a bingo game I play. It's very fun. I'm obsessed.
Awesome. Bravo. Awesome. Thank you two so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
We're going to take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back.
I'm Tracy Townsend, anchor at 10 TV News This Morning. My goal is simple, help you feel informed and connected. Because when news moves fast, you need a team that moves with you. Make the move to 10 TV News This Morning, weekdays from 5 to 9, anywhere you watch.
All right, welcome back to The Big Picture. It's 9:30. I'm Bryn Caswell. This is Collin Dorsey, and we are going back to Benton County.
Yes.
There are some new developments with this Siders case, and this is complicated. It's mammoth. This is a complex family story.
But now we're able to kind of answer some of the questions that we had about yesterday's stuff that we were talking about. Now we're like, okay, wait, here's the red line between this person and this person. It gets complicated. And I apologize if you're listening to this.
We're going to do the best we can.
So hard to
Right. We do have some images that can help you kind of follow along when we go into the family tree, but I just want to give a shout out to our amazing reporters here at 10 TV, Chris McFarland, Carla Rogner, Libby all Kathy, of them just really digging into this and telling, really important stories about this and keeping the story alive. So let's talk about the new court documents from Gallia County, and this is where the Siders family once lived. And these documents we've received from the Gallia County Children's Services. It kind of outlines that this whole situation, it did not start in March of 2026. It started years ago. So these newly obtained court documents show that child welfare officials, they had concerns about this family more than 5 years ago. And the children were ultimately allowed to remain with their parents after all of these cases. So this starts back in March of 2020.
Yes, and a lot of this really revolves around the education for these children, because we knew at one point they had ties with the schools in Gallia County, but then we learned that these kids were enrolled in like the Ohio Online Academy, but there were concerns over how they were learning. One child, being just one of the 11-year-olds at this time, was described as, not knowing the sounds of all the letters in the alphabet, couldn't say the alphabet, only could count to 12.
Right. So with this first case with Children's Services in Gallia County, again, it came from schooling concerns and where they were at with that. So 9 children of the 16 were involved with that first group of cases with Gallia County Children's Services. And so a juvenile court ultimately found that the children, dependent basically meaning they were not receiving the adequate parental care that they need. So instead of removing the children, the agency sought court supervision while the parents worked through a case plan. So they were trying to work with them, Gary Siders, Elizabeth Siders, their parents, trying to work with them to get them back up to the level they should be for their age. And so Children's Services actually in Gallia County recommended closing these cases, and then the court agreed once that plan was completed by the Siders. So weeks following that, and I mean, we're back in where are we? March of 2020.
6 years ago.
6 years ago. This is where we're at. So Children's Services became involved then again. This is just weeks after March of 2020. And this time there was serious health concerns. Records show 4 children, they had elevated lead levels, which is something you just don't typically hear about today. Not anymore. And there were concerns whether the parents were following up on their medical care. And records also describe an infestation inside of the house. And then the court found that the family had failed to maintain the improvements that they vowed they would make during that initial Gallia County Children's Services plan that they had to work out with the court.
Right.
So again, why weren't these children removed from the situation?
Right.
That's the big question.
And it is. And once again, we know that the Children's Services that was handling the sect of this that was handling this had recommended these kids stay with their parents. And by May, records indicated the parents had made some significant progress, even though medical appointments were still needed. The agency, once again, recommend closing those cases, and the courts agreed. And we know that by the time all of this came out a month and a half ago, all of these Gallia County cases were long closed.
Right. So fast forward now to, 2026.
Yeah.
Or do you want to go to 2021? We can.
We might as well.
So throughout the year of 2020, then into 2021 and 2022, there were more court records that we found that showed 6 children. They were missing school for months on a regular basis. Complaints were filed against the parents. And then again, those cases were eventually dropped in 2022 because the court could not locate the family. And that makes sense because when we have tracked their background, we know they have moved time and time again.
Right. And that would be about the time that they showed up in Vinton County.
Right.
Because what we knew that, for the longest time, they were all from Gallia County. Gary and Elizabeth, they were married in, I believe, Wood County, West Virginia, right across the border, married. And then obviously they were back in Gallipolis, and then they've moved around that county for a while. They ended up in Wisconsin for a time. They were back here. There's been a lot of
a lot of
moving around.
So let's fast forward now to 2026. So on June 30th, that is when the investigators found the 16 children inside their home in Vinton County on Omer Street. And this is drone video of that house where those 16 children were found living. Authorities, as we heard Attorney General Andy Wilson, described this as extremely poor living conditions. Several of the children needed hospitalization because of their condition. And then their parents, Gary Siders Jr. and Elizabeth Siders, and then their parents. So these children's grandparents, Gary Siders Sr. and Christina Siders, those 4 adults were charged with 16 counts each of felony child endangering. And then the criminal cases are ongoing, obviously.
Right.
So these charges remain allegations until
and now we've
further proven in court.
And now we've got the indictments down, which just in the child endangerment case, there's another case currently against Gary Jr. and Elizabeth. But in the child endangerment case, we know that Elizabeth, Christina, and Gary Jr. are facing, I believe it's 19 charges in this. Gary Sr. is facing 16. So that is coming from the grand jury indictment that we had been waiting on really since this had happened.
So, from 2020, that's when we know for sure, according to these court records, that is when child welfare got involved.
Yes.
And then 6 years later, that is how we got to Vinton County, where those 16 children were found inside of that house. And throughout those 6 years, we know the court was involved, school was reporting some concerns, but ultimately nothing happened. So the big question is, there were warning signs, right? There were warning signs. And the records, obviously, over the last 6 years show that there were.
Right.
That's what proves it. So the bigger question is, what happened with these warning signs and how was this able to fall through the cracks?
At what point, can you pull the trigger to do anything?
Right. And I think, so with our reporting over the last couple, months, weeks now, since this all happened, certain people have been coming forward. And, in hindsight, everything's 2020.
Right.
We've talked to people that worked at the Dollar General, where the Siders frequented a lot.
And they were like, well, it always appeared this way, but didn't think anything of it.
anything of it. And it's, it's easy to look back and go, how did I miss that? But people weren't seeing them every day. We know these kids weren't in school every day. So this next story that we're going to play is from Libby Cathy, and she spoke to a nonprofit that Elizabeth Siders, she would come there frequently asking for food and clothing, things like that. And again, looking back, everyone's kind of like, oh, how did we miss this?
Yeah.
By the time the Siders family showed up here, their case with Gallia County Children's Services had already been closed. But Lisa Carroll tells me her nonprofit, God's Hands at Work, first met the Siders family over 4 years ago.
When Lisa Carroll saw these boxes while authorities searched the Siders' home in Hamden, she immediately recognized them.
I could zoom in and see that some of those were actually our food boxes.
Carroll says Christina Siders came to her nonprofit, God's Hands at Work, 17 times between 2022 and this March. By then, the family was getting 4 food boxes at a time, along with diapers, wipes, and baby furniture. Carroll says she eventually asked for documentation, verifying the number of children.
So we want to know that there really are that many children there, because it's just so out of the ordinary. She did not want to provide anything at all. We have to have these or we can't serve you again the next time. And she never came back after that.
Carol says she never saw the Siders' children and had no idea the family had previously been under investigation.
She was always dressed well, always seemed to be clean. Like I said, very quiet, just seemed kind of withdrawn a little bit and a little nervous.
When she learned what authorities say the children were living in,
for the first couple weeks, I couldn't sleep. I cried. As a former Head Start teacher who is trained in child abuse and child neglect and all those things, I'm like, how did I miss this? How did I not know?
She says the case highlights the challenges facing rural social services.
I think the system is very overwhelmed, not enough resources, and even the streamlining that so that folks know where to go.
She says moving families, changing staff, and heavy caseloads can make it harder to connect the dots.
It makes me wonder, were they moving on purpose to avoid being known, or were they moving out of necessity?
Knowing what you know now, you would have called child services.
Absolutely. Yes, I absolutely would have. It eats me up sometimes that I didn't see it and that I didn't know and I couldn't, because they're innocent, they're innocent children.
Lisa Carroll also tells me her organization is ready to help the Siders' children with food and any other basic needs should they receive the call. Reporting in Gallia County, Libby Cathy, 10 TV News.
And we're also kind of figuring out now through all of this that it wasn't anything to do with the 16 kids that led the Vinton County Sheriff's Office and BCI and everybody else to that house that day.
We learned that it was an investigation that started back in December of 2025.
Yeah, and involving two other people.
Two other people that have some relation to the Siders.
Right.
So these two men you're looking at, Josh Saunders, this 23-year-old, and then 40-year-old Brandon Henderson. Investigators identified these two South Bloomingville men, and they are now facing charges in connection with the investigation into allegations of sexual abuse involving two children.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is according to the Ohio Attorney General's office. So this investigation began in December, and after authorities received these tips of these allegations of the sexual abuse involving two children. So this investigation then led to the second investigation of investigators with the AG's office going to the Siders family home and then finding those 16 children.
Right.
They did not assume they were going to find these 16 kids in that house that day. I think they were all very taken off guard from that when that all unfolded. And so the Ohio Attorney General, confirming this is ongoing and that all of these charges remain allegations, but we're learning the family ties that these two men who were arrested and,
because that was kind of the question we had yesterday.
How are they tied into this?
Was like, wait, are they kin somehow? Yes.
Mm-hmm. So Kristen McFarland, she dug into this entire family tree yesterday. We're going to play something that she put together explaining the family tree, and then we'll break that down from there.
Gary Siders Sr. and Christina Siders. Their son, Gary Siders Jr., is the father. He is married to Elizabeth Siders. Gary Jr. and Elizabeth have 16 living children. State records also revealed the couple had twins that died shortly after birth. Court documents say all 4 adults are charged with child endangerment for living in a home with 16 children in conditions that law enforcement described as deplorable. According to birth records obtained by 10 TV, Gary and Christina have another child, Virginia. Records show Virginia married Joshua Saunders Jr. in 2003. Birth records reveal the couple had a son also named Joshua Saunders. The father is currently booked in an Ohio prison in 2009 for a murder conviction. The couple never divorced. According to records, Virginia has since been romantically linked to Brandon Henderson. We have learned through court records that on March 31st, the court ordered a paternity test for 3 of Virginia's children, ages 13, 14, and 15. The court filing says the court wants to determine through DNA tests whether Brandon Henderson or Joshua Saunders Jr. is the father of any of the 3 children.
And it's also important to note, paying attention to that and what Saunders and Henderson are charged with, Gary Siders Jr. and Elizabeth Siders also are facing these indictments, accused of sexual battery and unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. Now, authorities do make the note that the victim in this case is not one of their children. Prosecutors allege this happened sometime between January and September of 2022.
Yeah, so Gary Siders Sr., let's break it down one more time.
If you can follow the spaghetti map of
We're going to try
red
our
string.
best. Gary Siders Sr. and Christina Siders, they are married, and they're the grandparents to these 16 children. So they have their own children, including Gary Siders Jr.
In Virginia.
So Virginia is a separate person. We don't have her image yet. But we do know Gary Siders Jr. then married Elizabeth Siders. So Victoria is technically the aunt to the 16 children. Virginia, sorry.
Yes.
Virginia is. So Virginia is really important in understanding the two men that were just brought into this case and how, it led investigators to this home. So Virginia married Joshua D. Saunders, in 2003. And it's important to note this as well, that there are two Joshua Saunders.
Right. There's Saunders Jr. Saunders Jr. and Saunders the third.
Right.
Right. And Saunders Jr., which is Virginia's husband, has been locked up in prison for a number of years now.
Right. So Josh Saunders, the 23-year-old, he is the son of Virginia, the grandson of Gary Sr. and Christina, the nephew of Gary Jr., and then the first cousin to those 16 children. And he's now facing rape and gross sexual imposition charges. So where does Brandon Henderson fit in all of this, the 40-year-old? Well, he's connected through Virginia.
Right.
Court records show Virginia and Brandon Henderson, they were in a relationship and living together as far back as 2010. So Henderson is believed to be Virginia's partner. So, Virginia's partner, which then connects him to the extended side of the Siders family through all of this.
Right.
So Gary Siders Jr. and Virginia Siders, brother and sister. Virginia is the mother of Josh Saunders, making Saunders Gary Jr.'s nephew and a first cousin to the 16 children. Brandon Henderson is Virginia's longtime partner, connecting him to the same extended family. Now, it's important to remember that Brandon we do not know yet if he's the biological uncle to any of that. So we don't know those details yet with that, but we just know that they've been in a relationship for multiple years. So it's very, very
complex.
Yes, it's very complex.
Yes.
But hopefully we explained it a little bit to you. Obviously we're going to keep following this case.
A lot of new stuff coming out in the last couple of days, because for a long time we didn't think we were going to get anything for a while.
No, I mean, all the gag orders.
But now here we go.
So here we go. So
obviously keep giving you more on that throughout the week as we learn it. But coming up next, we're going to talk about, if you haven't, I'm sure everybody knows at this point, but Dolly Parton passed away at the age of 80. We're taking some time to wrap up this show, taking a look back. Jeff Hogan had a special interview about that yesterday.
I'm Jeff Hogan. I've been a journalist at 10 TV for more than 20 years. I don't just report about our community, I belong to it. And that's why we care so deeply about getting it right. And when local journalism is done right, it moves. It moves you to act, to speak up, or lend a hand. And yes, it moves your heart through the kind of human storytelling that stays with you wherever you are. And at 10 TV, we're here for all of it. These are the stories that move Central Ohio.
I haven't truly felt it until now. It is an honor that is mixed with absolute pride and great sadness. But sadness lies with us, not with Dolly. Dolly has lived in the light and is in the arms of Jesus, surely met by Carl, her parents, and countless others who have watched her and longed for her to meet them in the heavens.
So that was the statement from her nephew yesterday that announced her passing.
Yes, he was in charge of her security, for years. And just a touching video where he just, explains how much of a light she was. I've heard people referring to her as just like, sunshine, walking sunshine. She brought so much joy to so many people.
A rare breed of somebody who reaches celebrity status and is still a very humble and caring person. Obviously, her work with the Imagination Library is what will be her lasting legacy.
Oh my gosh, yes. She started this incredible nonprofit where children are given books from the time they're born to they're 5 for free.
Yeah.
Helping them learn about the joy of reading. It's so important. And Dolly Parton's talked in interviews about how her father didn't know how to read or write, but she says he was the smartest man in the world.
Right.
And so she's made it her mission to help, children learn to read. And obviously that nonprofit and that philanthropic effort has come here to Ohio. And a lot of that was in part of the DeWines, Fran DeWine specifically, partnering with her to bring Imagination Library to the entire state of Ohio. This is Dolly back in 2022 at the First Lady's Luncheon. Look at her and all that bling and that hair. Beyond
always
all
over
of
the
that,
top.
always over the top, but beyond all of that, like Collin said, just the most humble person and just genuinely wanting the best for everyone.
Right. Coming from, really basically coming from nothing.
Yeah.
And never forgot that.
Never forgot.
And used that to give back. And yesterday, as all of this was coming out, we are all very much aware of the ties between Dolly Parton and First Lady Fran DeWine. And, evidently, Jeff Hogan, Doug Petcash, and I all called the governor's people at the same time, trying to get in touch with Fran for an interview. But yesterday, Jeff Hogan sat down with Fran DeWine to really talk about her memories with her.
She's invincible, isn't she?
Everybody loved her. That was the amazing thing. Everybody loved her. And yeah, we thought she would be around for a long time. She kept telling us she was going to be around for a long time.
I know she'd been sick for a little while.
Yeah.
When you got the news today, what was that like?
I mean, it's like losing a person in your family because, we think about her all the time, with the kids, and the kids all adore her, and I read to the kids, and, they know they get Dolly books, and it's just a big deal, and so it was like, losing a member of your family.
Everybody, you don't have to be a country music lover to know the name, and everybody felt some sort of connection with her. Yours was especially close. How would you characterize?
Well, I met her, I really met her when she came to Columbus. When we went statewide, she would come, to kind of kick off the program. And I was very nervous. It's Dolly Parton, And so it was over at Ohio State, and first she came in and greeted our family. And it was my granddaughter's 17th birthday. And so she just put her arm around Josie and sang happy birthday to her. And it just sort of like relieved everything, and it was just such a happy moment, So it was, there's nothing quite like meeting Dolly Parton.
And what was it from there? Did you have other commonalities?
Well, we did the program, and I was still nervous, and it was, she'd say, well, honey, just sit down. She sort of took control. They told me don't worry about anything because Dolly will just help you, and she took control, and of course she sang her beautiful songs, and she always sings I Will Always Love You, and that's the song that's going through my mind, and many people, I'm sure, in this world right now.
I think it has a billion downloads, to this point.
Yeah.
But the Imagination Library aspect of it, that's what ties you.
Yeah.
Super
And
close
I
to
learned about it when my own kids were getting it, and I found out, and I thought, well, I want to do that statewide, And so it's been such a great thing. We've got, over 430,000 kids today that are getting the books in Ohio. But, this is going to go on, we have partners in every county, and they're determined that it's going to go on, and it's going to go on for generations. This is an impact that only Dolly Parton could make and do, and we're going to continue that because it's so important.
There's a lot to learn from everything that she did. What have you learned, do you think? From her business acumen?
Yeah, I mean, she's the smartest businesswoman in the world, I think, But, that determination, to change kids' lives. Her father could not read or write, but she said he was the smartest person she knew. And so she was doing this just really to honor him and, to teach, if kids could learn the joy of reading. That was her goal. And so it's been wonderful just being part of that with her.
But also you say this isn't going anywhere. I mean, you will carry it on.
We'll carry it on in Ohio.
Is that something?
Yes, and the whole Dollywood Foundation, has planned for it to go on and on. And so we're going to really work hard in Ohio to keep our part. I know all of our partners want to keep it going, and so we will.
Have you been around her much from there in the last 4 years from 2022?
No, okay. not really. Only I see her, and you know, I see the videos and everything, but no. And she hasn't. Of course, she hasn't. You know, her husband Carl was sick, and so she was not doing a lot of traveling. You know, so I think she really missed him.
She's seen him. Dolly the dog. Any tie-in at all?
Well, when we started the program, it was just, we went statewide like in October, November of 2019. And then the pandemic started, and we happened to get this dog. A friend gave us a dog, and they, you know, we were here at the house, and somebody said, well, what are you naming your dog? And I said, Dolly, you know, because of Dolly Parton, because we were starting the program. So, you know, Dolly.
I thought immediately of the carousel.
The carousel.
You and I got together very recently.
Yeah. There's a little license plate out, I don't know whether you saw, but it said, you know, it's the read to me numbers, letters, you know, with Dolly's picture on it, the little license plate you can buy with Dolly.
You have to be proud of the fact that that will live on there.
It will, yes, yes.
What about country music? Are you a fan?
Yes.
You liked her music, just
I
and
love her
country
music,
in general?
yeah, yes.
What about the outfits?
Well,
Her star-studded, you know, dazzling outfits and all.
She made it wonderful. When I met her and I hugged her, you know, she had this tiny little waist and these tall little heels, you know, but she always looked wonderful. She always looked happy, it made you happy.
The philanthropy aspect of what she stood for makes a lot of people happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable what she really has done. And, you know, this program is around the world. You know, it's in Ireland and Australia and many other countries, not just our country, but, you know, she's just invested in children all over the world, and it's gonna live on.
What will be your lasting memory or exchange that you had with her?
I think being there on the stage with her and her just telling me to relax, and you know, she's just a wonderful woman. You know, so loved by so many people of every part of life. She's loved.
I mean, we're hours into this. What do you think the rest of the day will be like, and the rest of the days?
I don't know. It's been pretty emotional for me. You know, it's hard, I think, for anybody who loved her, and everybody loved her. So, you know, yeah, we're just going to keep thinking about her.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Oh, what a great interview with them. And Fran DeWine and Dolly Parton, they actually wrote a cookbook together.
They did.
Which is so cool.
It shared both Fran's and Dolly's favorite recipes, but on the back side of that, there was a QR code that parents could scan to sign up for Ohio's Imagination Library.
Yes, and it's really easy. You just go onto their website and you enroll for free. That's basically it. You put your name and
book
address
every month.
Every month.
Yeah, so it's really an amazing, amazing program.
Yeah.
As we were talking, you know, and she also mentioned that she had guests coming over yesterday, so she pulled out some of these the Hello Dolly bars, which are these great layer bars, but she pulled them out earlier in the day to serve, and then obviously it came out later that she'd passed, so I think there was a little specialness there.
Synchronicities.
But, yeah, as we were talking, favorite movie, Dolly movie.
Well, you said to save Magnolias.
Yeah, Steel Magnolias, all-time favorite movie.
I like 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
They're
also,
great.
Straight Talk was a great one.
Yes.
All right, that's all the time we got for us today.
We'll see you tomorrow.